Imagine standing before the most powerful man in the world, someone who claims to be a god himself. This is the story of Moses, the prophet, and Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. A story of faith, miracles, and a downfall that shook history forever. Get ready, because we're diving deep into one of the most epic confrontations ever recorded. Pharaoh wasn't just a king. In his own eyes, and in the eyes of his people, he was divine. He ruled over the mighty empire of Egypt, a civilization of incredible wealth, power, and architectural wonders. But this grandeur was built on the backs of others. He had enslaved thousands of Israelites, forcing them into brutal, back-breaking labor under the scorching sun. Generation after generation knew nothing but servitude. Pharaoh believed his authority was absolute, that no one in heaven or on earth could dare challenge his rule. But he was wrong. Destiny was about to send an unexpected messenger, a man named Moses, who had received a mission directly from God, a mission that would bring this seemingly invincible empire to its knees. Moses' story is incredible. He was an Israelite by birth, but to save him from a decree by a previous pharaoh to kill all Hebrew baby boys, his mother placed him in a basket and set him afloat on the Nile. Miraculously, he was found by Pharaoh's own daughter and was raised in the royal palace, educated as an Egyptian prince. But his destiny was not to rule Egypt. After fleeing into exile for many years, Moses encountered God in a burning bush and was given a divine command: return to Egypt and demand that Pharaoh, his adoptive brother, release the Israelites. So, Moses returned, no longer as a prince, but as a prophet with a simple, yet world-changing message: let my people go. Pharaoh, surrounded by his wealth and military might, simply laughed. Who was this god of the slaves? Who could possibly stand against Egypt, the superpower of its time? But Moses wasn't armed with just words. He was sent with signs and miracles, divine power that would soon make Pharaoh's laughter turn to fear. To prove that Moses' God was the one true God, a series of devastating plagues were unleashed upon Egypt. This was a direct challenge to Pharaoh and the many gods of the Egyptian pantheon. First, the lifeblood of Egypt, the Nile River, turned to blood. The fish died, the water became undrinkable, and a stench filled the land. Yet, Pharaoh's heart remained hard. Then came frogs, swarming every corner of their homes. Then lice, then swarms of flies. Then the livestock of Egypt died, but the livestock of the Israelites were spared. Boils broke out on the skin of the Egyptians. Hail of fire and ice rained from the sky, destroying crops. Swarms of locusts devoured whatever was left. A profound darkness, so thick it could be felt, covered the land of Egypt for 3 days. But there was light where the Israelites lived. After each plague, Moses would repeat his demand, and each time, Pharaoh would promise to relent, only to harden his heart once the plague was lifted. He refused to let the Israelites go, even as his kingdom crumbled and his people suffered immensely. Finally, after the 10th and most devastating plague, a grief-stricken Pharaoh relented. He told Moses to take the Israelites and leave Egypt immediately. The Israelites, after centuries of bondage, packed what they could and began their great exodus, their journey toward freedom. But their relief was short-lived. As soon as they were gone, Pharaoh's arrogance returned. He regretted losing his massive slave labor force. How could he have let them go so easily? Consumed by rage and a desire for revenge, he gathered his elite forces, his chariots, his horsemen, his entire army, and set off in hot pursuit. He caught up to them at the shores of the Red Sea. The Israelites were trapped. In front of them, an endless, impassable body of water. Behind them, the furious and unstoppable Egyptian army, closing in for the kill. It was a moment of absolute despair. Their newfound freedom seemed destined to end in a massacre. But then, the impossible happened. As the Egyptians drew closer, Moses, following God's command, stood before the churning waters and raised his staff. A mighty east wind began to blow, and the sea began to part. The water split into two, forming towering liquid walls on either side, revealing a path of dry land right through the middle of the sea. It was a miracle beyond imagination. In awe, and with renewed faith, the Israelites hurried across the seabed, walking between the massive walls of water. They were escaping. Seeing this, Pharaoh, blinded by his pride and fury, didn't hesitate. He ordered his army to charge into the sea path after them, determined to drag them back or destroy them once and for all. His chariots thundered onto the dry ground, convinced that victory was still within his grasp. But the sea was not Pharaoh's ally. It was an instrument of divine justice. As the last of the Israelites safely reached the other side, Moses once again raised his staff. On God's command, the walls of water collapsed. With unimaginable force, the Red Sea crashed down upon the entire Egyptian army. The chariots, the soldiers, the horses all were swallowed by the raging torrent. The might of Egypt, the pride of its king, was annihilated in an instant. Pharaoh, the man who called himself a god, the man who believed he was invincible, was drowned in the very sea he thought he could conquer. His reign, his army, and his arrogance ended that day in the most dramatic and humbling way possible, a testament to a power far greater than his own. The story of Moses and Pharaoh is so much more than a tale of miracles. It's a powerful lesson about the dangers of pride, the unyielding demand for justice, and the incredible strength that comes from faith. It shows us how a single man, guided by his belief in something greater than himself, could stand against the most powerful empire on earth and emerge victorious. It reminds us that no ruler is absolute, and that arrogance often leads to a great fall. So, what do you take away from this epic story? The profound power of faith, or the timeless warning against the dangers of pride? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching this incredible piece of history with me. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next journey into the past. See you next time.